How's it going, internets? I hope you're having a lovely day. It's that time again. It's time to get into some animation, time to get that imagination all cranked up, get into some creativity. It's time to get inspired. And today's inspiration comes from Bob Peak. And if you're not familiar with his work, check right over here. He is a wonderful artist. He's worked on a ton of movie posters and just really super amazing line work. I really love his style. It's really just almost like a mix of a fine artist with a fashion artist. You can see his choices of color and his choices of apparel that he always puts his characters in is really just fantastic and phenomenal. Again, he did a lot of advertising art and stuff too. Really just adore the way that he renders form, and he kind of varies his style a little as well throughout a lot of his different projects that he's worked on as well. This was an alternate cover that he did for the Dark Crystal that I just loved. I really think this part up at the top here is just really, there's a lot of like chaotic line work in the back that really helps bring it together and unify it, that I think is just gorgeous. And really beautifully rendered forms, and the composition is just really unifying, and really like that. So definitely check out more stuff from him. This is a cover that he did from TV Guide for Buddy Ebsen that I thought was really just lovely line work and great rendering of the face. I really was drawn to the nose and the eyes on this one in particular. Another cool thing that he did here, he usually puts his signature in there, but if you look at this piece just as a whole, it almost looks like it's just a little bevel or a little bump in the tie until you really look at it. And that's an interesting way that he snuck his signature in there, and almost feels like it's a part of the piece itself. I like how he rendered that little hair flick there too. It's nice. So like I said, definitely check out more stuff from him. I think he's an amazing artist, and I don't think he gets nearly enough credit for all the things that he contributed during the time that he was really prolific. But I did want to share a quote with you guys, and that was, "Creativity depends on variety." And as you can see throughout just looking at his work, you know, this is some I Love Lucy stuff that he did. This is just some more of his sketchbook stuff, advertisements. This was movie posters. You can tell that like his subject matter, the way that he approached different pieces of work, he has a lot of flexibility, both in the mediums that he uses, how he goes about producing his work and his method, and also just what outlets he uses as well. And I think all that kind of stuff, just like limitations, I think also help creativity. Forcing yourself and kind of just looking at the videos that we do together each and every day. You know, I go off and I find a different rig that I've never used. It causes me to think differently each and every time I approach animation, because I can't say, well, I've used this rig so many times, I'll just go in here and do this. I've never used it. It's going to come up with new things to talk about, new hurdles or struggles to get over. Some days it's really easy, some days it's more difficult, and then you have to creatively think through, and then trying to do a different idea all the time is always something like that. And it's just something that you know, helps me to push forward with thinking differently for myself. So maybe you can find something. If you're an animator, I challenge you guys to do that. If you're an illustrator, you know, try and get into different, you know, if you do a lot of characters, try to do some backgrounds. I know I've been doing a little more backgrounds lately, and that's been kind of a different mentality to have, and thinking more about composition and layout and all that stuff versus just thinking about form and posing and line of action and expression and all that kind of stuff. So I think variety is really important, and you know, you want to be a master. Well, I personally, probably you guys too, you want to find something and just really hit it hard and be a master at it and everything. But I think sometimes, you know, that'll pigeonhole you. There's a kind of weird thing that goes on in our society now. Let's just look at like kind of the animation world in particular. You have, you know, the writer and the producer, and you have storyboard artists, and then you have like the previs, the people who just kind of set out a layout for the shot, and then you have the animators, and then you have the people, the lighting team, and then you have the texture team and all the fur and hair, and then you have like the rigging team that goes and does this, and it's so segmented that it almost feels like, you know, without this certain team you couldn't do this kind of thing. So I think as an individual creator, it's important to try and have a lot of different skills, and then, you know, pick one that you really love and focus on that. But it's important to you know, add a little bit of variety to what you can do as well. But I'm getting rambly, so let's go ahead and get into some animation. This is the Weird Shape rig. It's a free rig you can grab over at David O'Reilly in his External Worlds rig collection, and I will throw a link to that, as well as everything we've kind of talked about so far, down in the description below if you guys want to mess around with it. And if you're not familiar with what we'll be doing for the rest of the video, we give ourselves 48 frames, give or take. I go off and I find a rig that I've never used before, free resource for you guys to play around with as well. And we kind of go from there, a little bit of over the shoulder, just hang out with me while I animate, a little bit of talking through the process. But mainly the whole goal of doing these videos is to hopefully encourage you guys to go off and create your own stuff each and every day, and take another step in your journey, and hopefully inspire you or motivate you to, you know, every day be working on your dreams. So let's go ahead and play around here. So I think this one will probably be a short video, I'm thinking, just because there's not a ton of controllers here. But let's see if we can't get sort of creative here with it. And it's kind of thinking this would be just like a flour sack type of rig here. That's the way I'm thinking it would be here. So let's start off with something kind of like that for our starting pose. And let's go ahead and set our frame range. I think we'll keep it simple. I want to say the last couple of videos have been a little bit longer, so let's make sure we just have our NURB curves, NURB surfaces, and polygons selected. Let's go ahead and save our file. We are using Autodesk Maya 2014 for today's video. For more information on that and all the stuff we've talked about, again, check out the links in the description below, as well as stuff if you want to hang out with me or shoot me messages or follow me or any of that other kind of stuff. But most of the time, I gotta be honest, I'm usually just creating, so it's usually posts. I should get more chatty. I feel like I'm not chatty enough lately as far as on social media and stuff. So let me know what you guys think. Do you guys do a lot of chatting on social media? I find it's either one or the other. Either I can spend time talking or I can spend time creating. So I tend to, aside from these videos where I probably blabber on way too much, let me know comments below. I tend to not use social media nearly as much as I should. And I think it's an important thing too for any sort of creator, especially in this day and age, is you really have to, you know, put yourself out there a lot more. There was I think it was Will Terry that did a video recently talking about, you know, the importance of using social media, and, you know, that it's a different kind of a market than when he started, which even myself, just from time when I started learning this stuff versus now, it's a lot different of a market since, and that was 2011, 2010 that I really kind of started pushing this stuff a little bit harder. So definitely let me know what you guys think about social media stuff too. There's a little hiccup here, so let's make sure we're getting back there. Okay. Yeah, let's look at the window animation editors, graph editor. I'm kind of mixing up my usual methodology or workflow a little bit today, evidently. Sometimes I like doing that, not going exactly the same kind of route to getting there, but they're nice to have a workflow so that you kind of remember not to forget stuff. It's a funky phrase, remember to not forget. And let's switch that over positions here on the feet. So let's make sure we lock in all of our main keys already. We're just going to hit S on the keyboard, so we make sure we lock in all the attributes here. And we'll raise those feet up here. Let's look at the other side. Again, we're going to go back and lock in all of those main keys again. Lift that one up. Very talking about variety when we were first looking at the work of Bob Peak. Make sure I'm saying that correctly. Yep. You know, this is definitely a bizarre rig, but I tend to like animating things that aren't typical or traditional. I tend to have more fun with those ones because there's less of a rule system. And getting back to kind of what we were looking at the day before with shoot, I'm not gonna remember his name, but he said that he liked pushing, you know, form and lighting and boundaries, but still having it be something relatable. So I think that's why it's always fun for me personally to try and animate, you know, weird creatures or any of that kind of stuff, so that you can, you know, find those elements that you can relate to, either like a human bipedal creature or an animal, but yet twist it and tweak it a little bit. That's where I tend to have more fun animating. Alright, let's do a little bit of up and down here. Let's go down there, up there, down there, up there, down there, up there, down there, and back again. And let's clean that up a little bit more. Let's try inverting it and see if we like it better. More traditional, where it goes up on the passing position. Yeah. I feel like I almost want this to have a little bit of a sense of creepiness or menacingness to it. I think another thing before I get too far is I'm going to push this back so it's 7 frames instead of 6 frames. Just slow it down just a little bit, which means we're probably going to go to, I think, what, 56 frames. So I'm just going to grab everything here. I feel like I need to slow this down just a little bit more. Just push everything, middle mouse button, and slide it over 1 frame. Shift middle mouse button over. Shoot, oh, we made it there. 714. Yeah, this one needs to be 21. 28, 35. This should be 42. 49, 56. Okay, so let's see it now. A little bit slower. Yeah, it's a little better. Alright, and let's push the hips over a little bit. Over the planted foot there. And back again, so let's see. And one other thing I think I might try is locking the feet for 1 extra frame. Just so there's a little bit of a pause there. So let's see. So they hold on the ground there. Yeah, kind of like that. Okay, and let's make these steps a little bit harder. So I think I'll go 2 frames from here and lift it up. And 2 frames from here, lift it up. 2 frames from that, and we'll lift it up. And 2 frames from that, and we'll lift it up. And again, I still want to have a little bit of an arc here. So let's see how that feels. And let's compare both sides and see how we're doing. I think we got a pretty good balance there. Yeah, it feels alright. Just to add some more weight to those steps. Okay, and let's look here. Let's do a little bit of rotate Z there over the planted foot and back again. Alright, and let's tone that down a little bit more and balance it out. Press F, we'll focus in a little bit more. Let's see. Yeah, let's go here, and we'll do a little bit of squash here, which is going to be rotate Z. And let's see if we like that or if we want to do it a different way. For some reason it looked like I either didn't grab one or one of them wasn't keyed, but I think we're fine. Okay, let's tone that down a little bit more. And balance it out. Let's see. Yeah, let's invert it and see if we like it better that way. Another thing I kind of want to do is rotate that in Y down a little bit more, make it feel a little more ominous. Maybe a little more here as well. Okay, now we're going to have to tweak some stuff here. So let's look at our rotate Z's here. We'll tone those down a lot. Even invert them. Let's see. Okay, where are we going here? Yeah, we just can't go so far there. Now it's like here. I wonder if we can do a little bit of translate that way, and push that over this way, push that over this way. Usually I would just use a rotation, but I'm trying to loosen this up a little bit more. So let's see. like it, we can always get rid of this, but I think we can make it work. Minimize that a little bit more. Let's see. Kind of makes this portion stick out a little too much though. So let's see. That was it. Push into it maybe more. Push this away over here. So just kind of exaggerate it a little bit more. Let's see. Let's get rid of that. Looks okay for the front view, but the side views look all janked up, so let's just delete that. Okay, and let's look at the bottom portion here. Can exaggerate that a little bit more. Zero it out. Let's see. Alright, let's balance that out a little bit better. Let's do a little bit of rotate Y as well. No, so rotate X. Back again. Yeah, let's even those out as well. A little too heavy. Let's start. Bring that up here. Those back. Let's see. Alright. And then what if we delayed that 2 frames? Just to loosen it up a little bit more. And we could do a little bit of up and down here. So we'll go at like 4. And then we'll bring it down. And then up. Down. Up. And 7 frames from that, down, up, down, and what do we hit from there? 54, up, and then back again. Okay, let's clean that up a little bit more. So maybe like 2 right. Should be every 7 frames. Should be like this. 4. This is where it should be. Oh, you know what? I'm looking at the wrong one. It should be this one. Translate Y should be up. up and down, thinking that it's like most normal controllers. But it's got a little bit of inversion there for its orientation. That's okay. Nothing wrong with weird orientation. There we go. Let's exaggerate the ups a little bit more. And then let's take this position here and move it a little more mid, just for the loop. And we'll minimize it just a little bit more. Look at this one. We'll start off with that a little bit lower, and higher, lower, higher, lower, higher, lower, higher, and back again. Yeah, let's look there. Minimize that a little bit more. It's a little more middle ground. Okay, and then we'll go here. We'll go 4. And we'll translate it down a little bit. 12's up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and back again. And we'll scale that back as well. Just trying to loosen things up a little bit more. This thing, I don't really like it going up so much. So let's see if we can't do a little bit less. Or maybe a little bit more. So that it's balancing out. We're kicking it up more so that it shows up less. I think is what we're doing there. Kind of want to look at the rotate Y here and see if we can rotate. Let's translate. See if we can bring that back a little bit more. Let's see. Let's start over with just the top section. Delete everything in the middle. Let's see. So here we need it to go this way. See if we can't get it to still work. I think we can. We're just gonna punch in a couple more keys there. Try and flatten that out in the middle there. So I'm gonna fix it. Okay, let's just go back and we'll zero everything out. We'll have to just not go with that idea so much. It's just too loose. Okay. And then we want to delete everything after that. Here. So we'll go here. I do want to try and get that curvature here if I can. So let's just see what happens if we just do that. sometimes we push an idea a little bit further than the rig likes, and then it's a lot of work from there. Could have just stuck with what we had earlier, but I think we can get some. This step here. So it seems a little too high. So should we minimize the step? No, it's the rotation, I think. Let's see. Yeah, let's just tone down the rotate Y a little bit more. Too much bounce on these guys, so let's scale that back. This one step feels a little too harsh. So you pull the translate Z back a little bit. Feels a little better. Let's look at our rotate Y, so we need to adjust these guys then. Let's rotate Z. Oh. I think it's the rotate X here. Does it feel like it's pushed too far over there? Just because of the shape of this rig, since it's a little bit thicker over on this side, I'm going to have to favor it a little bit more so it feels more balanced. Yeah, let's push it up a little bit more from there. Let's see how that feels. These ones feel a little bit too far over here, so let's see. Push it more like that. Let's look at the feet again here. Definitely weird walk here, but it's fun. So let's go ahead and there's nothing we can really do for foot rotate here. So we'll have to get some, let's bring the knee out, in, bring the knee out, in, just so there's some variation in those steps. Okay, maybe not as much, bring it down to about half of that, just so we can get some variety in those mid-passing positions. This side. Swing out a little bit there. Swing out a little bit there. Definitely a weirder rig than we've done a lot of times here. Let's see if we can't push it down a little bit here. Up. Maybe that'll loosen it up a little bit more. Have to be careful here. Well, let's see if that feels right. Let's move it back to like frame 11. Let's see if that feels better. slowed it down even one more frame. We've got a bunch of keys in there now though, so it's going to be difficult, so one more frame here. Let's go ahead and save our file before I tweak the timing anymore. So one more frame here. Between 4 and 7. And that would be 19. Let's plot that out a little better. So between 4 and 7, there's 3 frames there, so that should be the same as 19. 3 frames before that, right? So what's keyed there? Boy, sometimes it's harder to approach than I think. Just one frame before 7, push it back. One frame before 21, which would be now 22, and we'll push it back. So it'll be 7, and then 21, and 35, which would now be 37. We'll push that back. And then 37 be 49, which would now be 53. So 52, and push it back. And that would be about 63 frames now we're at. So we have 8 frames, and then 20, 30. 8 frames there, right? And this next one should be 8 frames from there. So grab everything there and push it back 1 frame. That should be at 16. And this next big one should be at 24. This next one should be at 32. So I'll push that back. And then 40. That's right. 48. We'll see how much stuff we messed up there. And then 56 should be our next big one, and should be 64, right? Get that right? Still feels pretty good, just a little bit slower, right? I think this stuff just needs to be toned down. Flatten out a little bit more. Make sure we still have those pauses there where it just flats off. Okay. Also think I want to tone these guys down a little bit more. So all that translation stuff, I gotta get rid of that. you'd see going down the hall of like a crazy, like almost like a crazy playing card or something. It'd be chasing you down a hallway. Alright, I think that'll work. We could definitely still play around and tweak this thing up a whole bunch, but I think that'll... Before we do that though, let's create a little background for it. So let's do a new perspective here. Let's stop that. Create polygon primitives. Let's do cube. Assign a new material to it. Put a Lambert on there. Darken it up. And since we said a hallway, let's go ahead and do that. Another cube here. Select that. Copy that. And paste another one. Put that on the other side. Let's go back to our original perspective here. Let's go and push this inward a little bit. Go back to our other one. Push that inward a little bit more. Let's do a little bit of rotation here. A little bit of rotate there as well. And let's push that backward. Hold on one second here. Okay. And let's create a cube here on the ground. So we have a ground plane here. Push that up. We'll go back to our perspective here. I feel like we should probably tilt it down a little bit as well. And let's watch that. And then the other thing, I think I'm going to put a ceiling on here too. So just to create that feeling of trappedness with this thing. So let's look back in our perspective window. We'll drop it down a little bit. Push it back. Hold those a touch. We'll stretch them out a little bit longer. There we go. Okay. There we go. Turn that off. Give kind of a up-looking perspective. It's a more dynamic perspective. Let's see it. Do a little bit higher. Go through the floor though. Okay, yeah, we'll go ahead and leave it like that. A little more dynamic perspective. So, creativity depends on variety. Great quote. Try and apply it. It's difficult to come up with different stuff all the time, but you can do it. You're amazing. I hope you're taking another step in your journey towards mastering whatever medium it is that you're passionate about. I love you guys lots. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for watching. This is a little bit different one. But I think that'll wrap it up for today. I love you. Thanks for all the likes and subscribes, and we will see you for some more animation tomorrow.